Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
But I will tell you, all things notwithstanding, at least we're still getting new movies coming out.
Hey, I watched a whole bunch of modern horror movies this week.
Oh my god!
And I liked from 2020 dipshit or 2021.
That isn't even modern, motherfucker.
Oh well, okay.
Modern could mean the
modern
last,
is
okay,
within.
Where does modern?
Modern for me.
End?
Modern for me is within the last 20 years. Because that's
so
2001.
Why did it have to be 2020, motherfucker?
Because that's what I said.
You watched a movie from last year. Just say that. So what did you watch? Did you watch Censor?
I watched Censor a little bit ago, and I liked it okay, but it was lacking. There was a kernel of something missing that I couldn't put my finger on that made it not gel. So if it doesn't gel, it's not aspic. And that's my review of Censor.
I mean, it had all those really good reviews. That's a little disappointing to hear that it wasn't.
It did, and I kept seeing that, and I'm like, don't hype it in your brain, son. Right. And I tried not to. It's because it hits like a perfect storm in my brain. Video nasties and a mystery, and I had seen a couple people compare it to Barbarian Sound Studio, which I absolutely love. And I was kind of already getting that feel from it. Like, ooh, this is hitting on Giallo stuff and identity stuff.
Right.
And it does hit on those things. It just doesn't quite nail it like Barbarian Sound Studio did for me. But, I would still recommend it to people.
I like Barbarian Sound Studio as well.
I love Barbarian Sound Studio. I love that guy's movies. Peter Strickland.
The real question that I have for you, Mr. Begley, since we're here on the Kulturecast talking about horror movies, apparently, did you enjoy Fear Street, the trilogy, or do you hate gay representation in horror? This is the Kulturecast.
That's a two-part question. So,
folks.
Wait, yes and no? No and yes? No, yes.
No
yes
to
and
both.
Yes. No, wait.
No to both.
No, I did enjoy the Fear Street trilogy. All right, bye. That's the show.
Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, it is the Kulturecast, and we are talking about the Fear Street trilogy. I am joined by my good friend, the host of the Wake Up Heavy podcast. You can hear me on his show talking Poltergeist 1, 2, 3, and Poltergeist Remake. And you can hear him on my show talking any number of things, including, let's add to the list, Fear Street 1, 2, and 3, because we're talking about all three of them.
There was a time when things were good in Shadyside. But now, that's all gone.
Oh man, I turn the run around with the skeleton hand, yeah.
Hello?
Still alive.
Who is this?
It's happening again.
Tonight is Sunnyvale versus Shadyside. Red versus blue, good versus evil. Recommensicate color!
Are you okay?
That was 1978. 5,937 days ago.
Shadyside, a history of horror, has earned it the nickname Killer Capital USA.
What's happening to us?
These massacres happen in Shadyside over and over.
You were the only person who survived. How do we end this?
You have to go back to where it all started.
1666.
The devil has come to feast on our misdeeds.
If they want a witch,
Witches! Witches!
I will curse this town forever.
It's been 3 centuries. It stops here. It stops with us. Who the hell was that?
How should I know? She was hot! The bitch seemed normal.
Amazing observation.
Your best chance is to run from this place.
In Shadyside, we're all cursed. The devil is in me.
Any tips for fighting these things? Try not to die.
Welcome to the suck.
Come back from that motherfucker.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Holy moly.
Oh, okay. You did watch all. I'm just making. You did watch all three.
Whoops.
I didn't watch the second and third one. Yeah.
There's
and
3?
Yeah, so let's just get right into it. This will be a spoiler podcast. This is new. This is contemporary or modern, as Mr.
Modern.
Callan
Postmodern.
there.
Postmodern horror.
Postmodern horror. So before we talk spoilers, and we're going to talk about all 3 movies with spoilers, let's just get out of the way for the trilogy. You liked it. I enjoyed it as well. I think we probably enjoyed it maybe differing levels of enjoyment, but where do you come down, Mark?
I wasn't expecting too much because I have no history with R.L. Stine or the Fear Street books or even his Goosebumps books because that's I'm old. And so my history with those is seeing them in the classrooms that I used to substitute teach in. That's about as far as I've got. I've seen the Goosebump movies. I've never watched the show. I've never read any of the books, never read any Fear Street books. So I didn't have an expectation as to, is this going to follow a recognizable storyline for me? Is it going to bring back nostalgia? So I didn't have any of that to either look forward to or get angry about. And for me, they were just 3 new horror movies that are, I don't know if I want to say love letters to, but definitely homages to a couple of specific eras of horror films. And being the 90s new slasher, that's NU with an umlaut or whatever the 2 dots are. That's not umlaut. You know what I'm talking about. New slasher. So Scream and the like, all the shit that came after Scream. And then, of course, the campground slashers of the late 70s and early 80s. And I guess you could say the third one.
Is that a musing on modern day elevated horror? Because that's what it felt like for me.
Well, I think, yeah, I took it more as
socially conscious horror.
I see what you're going for there, and that's a really good point. And that kind of makes me enjoy that a little bit more. And I wish I had thought about that as I was watching the movie. I just kept thinking of folk horror because I really like folk horror.
Like The Ritual?
The Ritual. I love The Ritual. But even the stuff that was coming out in the 70s, like Blood on Satan's Claw and Witchfinders General and, you know, stuff like that, that is supposed to take place back then as well. And it doesn't really hit those vibes. I think what you're saying about, like, is this a goof on elevated horror? I like that idea more.
I think it kind of has to be, right?
It makes sense to me now, thinking about some of the stuff that bothered me about the third one, that looking through it with that lens makes better sense to me.
So I agree. This is our high level look. I think that these are 3 well-made films. I actually had zero intention in talking about them on a podcast, but Mark and I, we talk fairly regularly, and I know Mark loves horror movies as much as I do. Obviously, Mark's podcast, Wake Up Heavy, is a horror movie podcast in a lot of respects. It's not entirely horror movies, though, but, I mean, a lot. And, you know, look, as someone who loves the genre as much as Mark does, I will take any opportunity to watch new horror movies, especially ones that are easy to get a hold of, like on Netflix, Hulu, stuff like that. And look, in the day and age of streaming, there's almost no excuse as to why you can't watch something unless you don't have the time, which is the most valid of valid excuses. But because I can't get it, it's not a valid excuse anymore. Like, unless you can't afford it, I understand. What I'm talking about from an ease of access standpoint, in 2021, you can get anything on your phone or to your television. So being able to watch this, it's easy to get a hold of. A lot of people have seen it. I wanted to see if it was going to live up to the trailers. I didn't even see the trailers for this. I just watched the first one and then watched the second one. And then we were on our vacation, as in staying home, hanging out for a week. And the third one came out at the end of that week. So we watched the first 2 at the beginning of our vacation, and the third one came at the end of our vacation. So I really, really like this. It has its problems, but of course it does. It's not perfect. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it isn't. If you as the audience think that it's perfect, you're entitled to your opinion. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. It's not worth watching. It definitely justifies its existence. And I think it leaves the door open for more movies and for more stories in this universe. And I think Leigh Janiak did a good job. So let's talk spoiler. And let's talk fear. I mean, look, we're not going to get very far not getting into these movies. So I'm,
to your point about the access, and I read very little about these. I read a few reviews.
Right. I didn't.
That had come out. That came out, I think, either prior to or during the run, so they weren't spoilery or anything. But they did mention that this had a theatrical release plan and to be released very similarly to how they were released on Netflix, like every couple of weeks.
Right.
And I'm thinking, they're probably glad they couldn't because of I mean, I'm sure they're not glad, but that's a tough sell to get people back into a theater just during normal times. Like, your first movie has got to be really fucking good to get me to come back to see the second one in 2 weeks, and then a third one in 2 more weeks. And if they're not, those first 2 aren't worth it, I ain't coming back for the third. So I was happy. I mean, I wouldn't have gone to see them in the theater anyway, most likely. But
if
it was nice.
Would you have come back for the third one?
If I had seen those 2...
Actually, if you had watched the first one, would you have come back for the second? And would you have come back from the third? Would you have come back for the...
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
I would have liked more space. I don't know that I would have gone back so quickly. Like, oh, I can't wait 2 weeks. You know, it would have been more like, oh, the second one came out. Oh, I missed it. Now I'm going to have to wait. And then why go see the third one? That idea seems strange to me. Like, you've really got to have something special to bring people back for a trilogy within a month,
right? You
know, from the start. So probably wouldn't, just not necessarily because I didn't like the first one, but just because of life in general. And that seems really quick to me to release something theatrically. You know, doesn't seem that way, of course, with streaming, but I didn't watch them in succession of release like that. I watched them all in one day after they had all been released because of doing this episode. And that didn't bother me. I had carved out a whole day to do that. And I wasn't, I wasn't not looking forward to continuing each time.
Sure.
So whatever that means, like I was fine going, okay, you know, on to the second one. And after the end of the second one, well, let's do the third one. It wasn't like, oh yeah, okay, let's do the third one. They're all a tad over long, but again, I kind of get it because I think that's one of the things that streaming does. Like, I don't have to edit this to be super tight and fast moving because you know what? Some idiot's going to stop it, get up, go get a drink, stop it, get up, go take a poo, whatever you have to do during the day. May not even
stop it.
Yeah, may not even stop it, right. But so it does change the dynamics of things a little bit. And I'm sure that filmmakers understand that. I did wonder, though, would this have worked better as a limited series, maybe stretched out over 6 episodes as opposed to 3 full-length movies? I mean, they're all pretty close to 2 hours. And I'm sure there's stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor, regardless of whether, it's just going to streaming and you don't have to maybe worry about pace so much. If it could have fleshed out that way, as here's your 45, 50, 55 minutes, boom, next one. Because the stories do intertwine even within the movies, which I was a little bit surprised about, honestly. And you could do the same thing in a show. So I don't know. I mean, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, I guess.
I mean, I would agree with you that I think it probably lends itself more so than a lot of things do to serialization, right? I mean, I think you could get away with it, something like this, more because it is already essentially almost just could be broken up into 6 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, even if that wasn't the original intent with some...
And each episode could be switching back and forth between the time.
Right.
Like
2 time or even 3. And
98 or 94,
right.
1978, 1666, and then you 1666, 78, 94. So you come all
right.
the way back full circle. Yeah, you could have done that.
Which they sort of do in the movies anyway. I mean, you get touches of each era throughout. Not so much this 1666, but there are flashes of that during the show. So yeah, you were going to say something about spoilers. Are we on the first one, or are we just going to jump around?
No, so let's talk about Fear Street Part 1, 1994. So, like I had mentioned, these films are directed by Leigh Janiak. They are based on a screenplay by Phil Grasadii. I'm sorry, I butchered your name. And Leigh Janiak. It's, like you mentioned, it's based on the Fear Street books by R.L. Stine, in as much as that takes the name inspiration. And it stars a lot of people that I was very unfamiliar with. But I will tell you that the main actress, Kiana Madeira and Olivia Welch, who play the queer leads of the film, are fantastic. And again, if you've listened to this show, you know how I feel about, as someone who's bisexual, queer representation is important to me. And it's important to me, especially in my favorite genre, a genre that has notoriously had its problems with queer representation. I'm not going to sit here and, single out horror, because I think cinema in general has had an issue with queer representation. But horror movies have had their own special set of issues with queer representation, same with POC representation. So this movie has both queer and POC representation in absolutely every aspect of the film. So
yes, it does.
That out of the way immediately. I mean, we are going to talk about it, but I don't want it to dominate the conversation, because there will be other podcasts much loftier than mine who want to talk about it, and I will let them talk about it. But queer representation in horror movies is a problem, yes?
Yeah, oh yeah. And, I mean, from the get-go, and especially for some of the eras that they're hitting on in particular. But it was interesting to me. I had seen a lot of stuff already on Twitter and knew basically that there were queer leads, and was like, okay, cool, let's do this. And I think, I'm not an idiot. I would have figured it out pretty quickly that the Sam that she's talking about is not a male Sam. And that kind of, it didn't bother me, but I thought, do we really need to do that? Do the old bait and switch where you think this girl is talking about a boy, and then you get to the rally and it's a girl. It's like, it's obvious. I don't know. It felt obvious to me that it was going to be.
That's the one part of the movie I didn't like. That's the one part of the entire series I really detested, was for a movie that does have it, that does queer representation in horror so well, it needed to do that bait and switch. Like, of all the cheap, lazy things to do, right?
I was curious as to why that was necessary. It still felt to me like we have to set this up as a regular relationship so we don't lose people right from the beginning. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It just seemed odd. Like, if you're going to...
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondersight comes in. plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
I don't know. Just say Samantha. Don't say...
I agree.
Kind of leading me on here. I know it's going to be a queer couple. Even if I hadn't read that or inferred that from the tweets I had read, I could have figured it out fairly quickly. This is not a guy she's talking about. You know, it's 1994, but the movie is being made in 2021. I get it. Just have it be a girl. Just have it be known that it's a girl that she's pining for and mad about and angry with and all these things.
Because the bait and switch doesn't help with acceptance in our culture. So
right, yeah. That's
making a big deal out of it. It's just a relationship like any other.
Right. I guess that's kind of what I'm ham-fistedly going for. It's just treat it as if it were the straight couple, like you're trying to make us think it is.
Yeah, treat it like any other relationship. Which is why these bait and switch things suck so much. Is because it's unnecessary. You don't have to do this.
That's what I felt.
The movie-going audience isn't stupid.
That's what I thought. Like, is this necessary to fool me into thinking it's a boy she's talking about when it's pretty obvious it's not going to be? But beside all that, I'm taking over here for a second.
Go for it.
The Scream homage is obvious. You might be better versed in 90s new slashers than I am. What were some of the other 90s homages here? Like, was there some stuff I've seen? I Know What You Did Last Summer and the sequels, but I haven't watched those movies very many times. I mean, is there more of that stuff in there, or is it all pretty much just Scream?
In the first one?
Yeah, in 1994.
I mean, you have those other things in there, like you have the stuff from 1978, you have the killer come in, but I think it's Scream with like maybe a little bit verging on like the torture porn of the early 2000s, because you do have, I would contend that the grisliest stuff in these movies is either in this one in its entirety or right at the end of the second one. Like, the first one, I think, is the goriest of the three, and Scream, in my opinion, is not a gory movie, but early 2000s torture porn movies are very gory. And I don't think there's a way to not at least have a little bit of that put in here, and they dialed up that gore and the violence and the intensity. But to answer your question, if you watch the first 10 minutes of this movie and what you don't immediately think about is Scream, you must have never seen Scream.
Right.
That's the way, and like that's not a bad thing, but it wears its colors on its sleeve proudly.
Yeah, it's a very obvious homage to the opening of Scream, and I have to say, I like this skull mask costume much more than I've always hated Ghostface in Scream. I hate that mask, always have. It's the goofiest looking fucking thing ever. It's not scary, and it just drives me nuts.
Not a fan of Ghostface, huh?
I am not a fan of Ghostface, and I really dig the skull and skeleton costume in these movies. That's what they should have done.
I like the way it looks and the way it sits on the actor's body. The look of it. I mean, the look of it is just, it does look scary. There's something about kind of the it's overly stylized because it's not like a real human skull. There is like a stylized nature to it. It looks more like the Misfits skull than anything else.
Right.
The mascot of the Misfits, which is a skeleton. For those of you that don't know. And he wears, actually, this character kind of looks like the Misfits skeleton because he almost wears the exact same outfit. Misfits skeleton is either in red or black, and it's like a cloak.
It's a cloak, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's a much more intimidating. Great. Yeah, it's a much more intimidating looking skull for sure.
Yeah.
I was just curious because I'm like,
it's a well done design, but it is, again, you throw Ghostface's mask on there and it's essentially the same outfit.
Right. But better looking. No, I was just curious because I'm like, I'm probably missing all these 90s Easter eggs. And I mean, there's nothing I could do about that. I don't have that wide a knowledge of the new slashers. I've seen most of them. I just don't retain much of what I've seen from those.
I was about to say, I don't really have a frame of reference for those either. I got into horror movies through Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street. I watched them the same day, and that was kind of my introduction. So they have a special place in my heart, but I didn't again, I don't watch a lot of 90s horror movies specicay. It's not that I don't watch 90s horror movies, but I don't go out of my way to watch them.
Right.
I just watch whatever I just watch whatever I think sounds or looks interesting. So I didn't pick up on a lot of it, but I think there must have been. But before we go any further, let's get the plot of these movies out of the way. At least this first one. So in this first movie, the two leads are oops. Oopsie daisy. Sometimes there's the girl. Who's the girl? Who's the boy? In our first film, Dina, played by Kiana Madeira, and Olivia Scott Welch plays Sam. They are girlfriends who live in opposing cities. Sunnyvale and Shadyside. The names in these movies mean exactly what you think. They are very on the nose, and we will get to that when we talk about the second and third movies. Big time. But the towns of Sunnyvale and Shadyside are two towns diametrically opposed. One is a town full of people who are constantly being murdered by seemingly unconnected serial killer rampages. The other city, Sunnyvale, I guess we never really hear anything about it other than it's just a good place to live. But they don't say more than that. So what happens in this movie? Well, they are coming back from a vigil for the character played by Maya Hawke, who you see in the beginning of this movie, which is the Scream reference, because what happens to Maya Hawke?
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
She gets fucking murdered. Not just murdered, fucking murdered. I mean, this movie is pretty...
She gets Drew Barrymore'd.
Yeah, she gets Drew Barrymore'd hardcore. So they have a vigil, and the Sunnyvale kids and the Shadyside kids are there. They get into a huge fight. Lo and behold, the Sunnyvalers are following the Shadysiders in their bus, the Shadyside band, going back to their high school. And they, push comes to shove. They fuck up the Sunnyvalers' car. It goes off the road. And they crash into what is, unbeknownst to them, the grave site of Sarah Fear, a witch who cursed the town of Shadyside. And so the rest of the movie is Dina trying to save her girlfriend from being killed by the monsters that are reinvigorated corpses of the previous serial killers.
Right. And the synopsis really works for the whole series because we keep coming back to that.
What is the secret of Sarah Fear is the ultimate plot of this film. Trying to uncover the secret of why Sarah Fear cursed Shadyside. That's essentially the overarching question that is answered by the end of the third film. There are other questions asked, but the main question is, why is Shadyside cursed and Sunnyvale isn't?
Right. And then so throughout the movies with that overarching question, then we have the question of how do we stop it? What's happening? So in each one of those,
if you see the witch sends her minions after you. That's the belief.
Right.
Again, it will change by the third movie, but in the first two movies, the belief is if you see the witch by touching her bones, if you see the witch, you see the truth of why she cursed the town, and then she sends her minions to kill you so that you never find out, so that you aren't able to tell other people the truth. And so Samantha is cursed and all the killers come after them. And so it's a chase movie with the killers chasing after Dina and Samantha and her brother and their friends. And they're trying to figure out how they undo the curse.
Right.
At least in this first movie.
Yes.
It's a complicated movie. Let's just be honest here.
It is. I appreciated that. I appreciated that because at first, having read very little about it, I didn't fully understand all the supernatural elements, the different supernatural elements that would be going on. I understood that there was a witch. That's why we've got the 1666 part. I was surprised that there were multiple killers for one thing, and then surprised as to what those killers were.
Right.
And so when we, back to the opening with Maya Hawke getting Drew Barrymore'd, it turns out it's her buddy from the, I don't even know what kind of shop that was that he was in. It was like a head shop, but malls don't usually have head shops.
I don't know, yeah.
But it had the black lights and it had...
I guess it was Spencer. It's like supposed to be like Spencer's gift.
Yeah, but does Spencer's have
black lights? Yeah.
Well, I know black lights, but like pot paraphernalia?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I don't frequent these establishments very often.
What else Spencer sells? Sex toys and lingerie.
Okay, so then all of that makes sense then, because I was like, what kind of fucking shop is this for 1994 in a mall? But I was first surprised, and maybe first spoiler, I was surprised that the killer was him. I suspected it, and then I was like, no, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And so that was my first surprise, and I thought, oh, okay, this movie's going to do something. This is going to throw some curveballs at me. I didn't think it would be her buddy that works at the shop, and then I didn't think that he would appear again later when the mask is removed. And I thought, oh, okay, there's the second curveball. We're really going into the supernatural business here. And of course, once that curse is explained and the method that Sarah Fear is using is explained, then it all makes sense. But I liked those touches that made me question what was going on. Like, wait a minute, how's he back?
Right.
Well, this really messes things up because how are they going to fight against a guy that's basically a zombie. And my first thought, I was trying to think of, okay, what direction are we going here? Is it going to be the skull mask killer this whole time, just constantly coming back and they can't get rid of him? But then we're introduced to the other killers that you mentioned that through the years in Shadyside have committed these atrocities. It kind of hits on that it thing. I don't know if they specifically give a number of years between. I think I heard 17 years, but I don't know if that's like every 17 years something bad happens. It's like that though. It's like the it clown coming back or Pennywise coming back. And so we've got a milkman who went on a kill crazy rampage. We've got this girl who kills all her friends and then commits suicide. We've got the Camp Nightwing Jason-esque killer. And now we have
like a little kid.
And then there's a little boy that keeps popping up every once in a while that I would have liked to have seen more of. The little boy that smashes somebody's face in. And now we have the skull mask killer. And so they're all going to pop up at different times and attack different kids. And that's the part that I either missed something or the rules change. And I couldn't quite figure out, because at some point they explain the rules. Sam, when she's had the accident, her nose bleeds. She has the blood on her fingers, and that touches the grave site. I connected it with blood. Like, it's not just touching the grave, but the blood. And then she has the vision of Sarah Fear. So now Sarah's going to send her minions out to get Sam.
Right.
Well, why did Skull Mask Killer, or maybe this is unrelated, why did he kill his friend Maya Hawke?
That comes in the third movie.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Was that just unrelated, though, to begin with?
No, they get cursed. Okay, they get cursed by the main villain, the witch.
Right.
And their name is put on that wall, and so they go commit the crime.
Okay, that's what I thought. But why kill her, though? She's not Sam.
No, that was the murder that his name was on the wall. So he was just turned into the murderer. Sam was supposed to turn into a murderer too and kill her friends.
Okay. See, I took it as
because the name on the wall turns him into a serial killer or a murderer.
Right. I understood it this way, that so Sam, because she touched the grave, all of these, Sarah's going to send her minions back after her. And so they had this whole thing where the mask.
Should we just say what the twist of this movie is so we can stop talking about it the wrong way?
Well, no, save the twist because we haven't even talked about.
But it answers this question, though.
Well, does it though?
It explains why what happened in the first movie happened the way that it did.
Okay,
the witch
hold
isn't
on.
actually sending anyone after anyone. The sheriff is. The people find out the truth about what the sheriff's family has been doing, putting people's names on the wall to sacrifice them. And by putting the name on the wall, it turns someone into a killer who kills people, which is the blood sacrifice necessary to keep that guy in power.
Okay.
And then if he needs to stop people from figuring out the truth, he turns the bodies of those killers into zombies for him. So that's why the guy came back, because he was the most recent person he had used as blood sacrifice.
I'm still confused about something, though, because they set it up that the killers will go after the blood.
Right.
They smell this person. Okay. So, because they show Skull Mask in that one house while all he's getting is he's just like sniffing through their laundry.
He's looking for Samantha's stuff.
This one is also looking for, but they also attack other people. Why does Skull Mask kill Maya Hawke is my question. That's the part that confuses me. It doesn't seem to follow the rules every time.
He kills her because he's not a minion of the sheriff yet. He's still alive. He's still a human.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So he's turned into a killer first and then turned into a minion? This is going to be boring for everybody.
So what happens is he puts the name on the wall. That just possesses him and turns him into a killer.
I get it now.
and then he dies. And then after he's dead, he's essentially a zombie to be used by the main villain. It is convoluted, and it answers the question so much further into the movie. It is convoluted, though.
Sorry for wasting everybody's time on that. I should have figured that out.
It is convoluted. I will give you that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it makes sense for the past ones that come back too, which I guess would, if I was maybe paying attention better, would have been explained in the second film with the Camp Nightwing killer. I just felt like I missed something.
I mean, it's again, the movie's convoluted as fuck.
That's fine. Fine.
Oh, no, I mean, I think it works itself out of the pretzel it works itself into by the end of it. And I think that it really does it, especially in the third film. It drips out the information as opposed to having like a Saw scene where it's like, hello, Zep. And it like shows every scene,
right?
Every crucial scene in the movie from the angle that explains it. Like that shit's, I mean, it worked once in Saw one time. This movie kind of has that scene right. It has that scene in every movie, I would say, but it drips out the information enough where you can pick up on what's going on beforehand.
Right. There's still some nice twists and turns that kept me involved.
Like her.
And as far as the major spoiler goes, I don't think I really caught on until midway through the 1666, like, oh, it's not even going to be her, for fuck's sake, Come on, Mark. You got to know she was wrong. I mean, you figure they're wrongly accused anyway, but that doesn't mean that they didn't put a curse on the town.
Right, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, I go back to the autopsy of Jane Doe for that. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's pretty amazing. And spoilers for that movie if other people haven't seen it, but it basically goes this whole movie setting you up to believe that this dead body in this morgue is there because it's a witch, from a centuries old witch, and all these supernatural things are happening because of that. And the big twist is, no, this woman was wrongly accused and they tortured her in all these ways. And because of that torture, she is basically now a witch now. I mean, she's deceased, but you guys turned her into what you feared. And now all this awful shit is going to happen and continue to happen to everybody that tries to figure out what happened to this girl. So that's sort of what I thought they were going for. And it's kind of like that, but not really.
Huh.
It's a good movie. It took me like 2 or 3 times to tune into that one, but obviously I kept going back, so something was hitting me on it.
Of the 3, where does 1 stand for you?
I liked 1 more than I thought I would because I had, again, seen a lot of the stuff on my Twitter feed about the needle drops. And I was like, oh God. And the first 13 minutes of the movie, there were like 10 or more needle drops in succession. And I thought, oh, this is the Stranger Things complex. It's like the second season of Stranger Things. Once they had this ridiculous budget, they just threw 80s songs on just because they're 80s songs. They don't, it's not necessarily relevant to the scene. It's nostalgia, and it leveled out to where it wasn't like every, that pace didn't continue through the whole movie, or I would have been extremely annoyed. It does pop up here and there through the rest of it, but since there were a number of Pixies songs in there, I didn't mind it as much.
Wow.
But it was a little bit annoying, and that's a minor complaint about it. But I enjoyed it actually more than I thought I would, because I don't have as strong of a handle on 90s new horror, new slasher.
I mean, I will say that the needle drops were a lot for me. I mean, they're a bit much.
Yeah, it is, and that's been a lot of people's
commented
complaints.
on into the ground at this point. Our opinion will not be unique in that regard. The needle drops in the first 15-20 minutes of part 1 are excessive.
Yes.
I mean, I love Radiohead's Creep as much as the next person, but a little much.
Yeah, if it's not really...
And, like, it works in the context of the movie. Like, I get it. Like,
it doesn't not work.
Right.
But
feeling
it's
like an outsider because you're gay. I get it.
Right, yeah.
It's a little much, though.
Yeah.
It's a little heavy-handed.
It is. Not every 90s hit needs to be thrown in. And that's how I felt when I was watching that second season of Stranger Things. Like, okay, I don't need every 80s tune on here. You guys did it pretty well in the first season because you couldn't get the rights to every song you wanted. And
you
that's
had to be
sometimes
with some different songs.
And sometimes those hindrances end up being a plus, So
as someone who spent the last 7 months working on a project where we weren't able to use mainstream music, and we had to go and look at interesting things that people hadn't probably been talking about or listening to in the last 20, 30 years. There are so many songs from the 90s that need love and attention and that could benefit from being in a film that could not and would not have cost you nearly as much as it cost to license fucking Creep by Radiohead.
Right.
It's just, as someone who is an audio editor by trade, I guess now, it kind of feels lazy more than anything else. Like, what's the greatest 90s songs you can think of? Creep is one of them.
Oh, there were a lot of, I was familiar with most of the songs. Yeah. I do not listen to 90s music, other than the Pixies and Radiohead.
There was a Garbage song in there, right? I think, I forget what else. I'm trying to remember what is in the first 15 minutes. It's Creep, Garbage, and Nirvana as well.
Most likely. I kind of started to tune out on the songs after a while. It's not my favorite decade for music. Surprisingly, since I was in my early 20s, there is, again, the Pixies. I liked Radiohead up to a certain point, then I stopped listening, and I can't even think of other 90s bands other than some grunge that I continued to listen to. So most of it was fairly radio friendly hits from the 90s.
Oh, you know what else they had? Closer. 9 Inch Nails.
Oh, yeah. Well, that kind of goes without saying.
I like that song, so.
That's a minor complaint overall for me. I enjoyed it more than I figured I would. Yeah. And I think a lot of that had, I think a lot of that had to do with the twist. Like, okay, this isn't just a Scream homage. We've got this supernatural business going on, and now we've got all these different killers. Who are they? Okay, that's an interesting take. I get it. Okay, and kind of agreeing with the choices as they popped up. Like, oh, okay, that's cool. I like that idea. And as far as the acting and stuff, pretty good. You mentioned, the two leads. They do well. It felt to me, of course, I guess this is just me in my old age, but whenever I see a group of teens or what are supposed to be teens in these movies, my mind automatically just goes to CW stuff. And so it's like, it's kind of on par with a lot of CW stuff, and that's fine. No one's atrocious. I liked Dina's brother a lot, and he's in something else, and I, of course, can't remember what it was. I saw him in something recently, and I liked the guy friend, and I was like, I know who that is. I know him from somewhere. And even before I looked it up, I realized, oh, he was the kid in The Woman in the Window, which is the crazy ass movie that I kind of love with Amy Adams and Gary Oldman and all these people. And it's totally fucking weird. And
off of a book.
He's in it, and he is very different in that than he is in this. And so just between those two performances, I got to say the kid's got some range, because it's a very different characterization in that movie. He's odd, and he's pretty normal and pretty good and pretty funny in this.
Yeah, I like everybody in this. I honestly, I mean, look, this is, I mean, I think I speak for both of us in saying I wish there had been more Maya Hawke in this movie.
I was really disappointed. I knew it was coming, and I thought,
it is disappointing.
Why does she have to be the Drew Barrymore?
It really says a lot about Maya Hawke's visibility that she, 2 years after Stranger Things, is being treated that way in this. That's pretty wild to me. Holy shit. Like, good for her, really. Like, good for you that you've made an impact on the industry already, substantially, that people know who you are from, like, you being in, what, 2 things?
Yeah. Is she in the Little Women? No, she's in something else.
No, she is in the BBC version of Little Women and Stranger Things, and she also played a bit part in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes, I remember her in that. It's funny because I just kept holding out hope, like, oh, he didn't kill her. She's going to be one of the main characters in this. And then I was like, oh shit, no. Okay, never mind.
I will say that
because a lot of people get stabbed in the guts in this, and that's a very convenient way to like decide whether or not you're going to keep somebody around. The old, because if you've seen Reservoir Dogs, a gut wound is bad, but it's not necessarily a death sentence. You're going to bleed out, but if you get help quickly enough, you might survive. So that's what I was hoping for.
How did you feel about speaking of Maya Hawke, how did you feel about the gore in this first movie?
I'm having a hard time remembering a lot of the gore, and I feel like that.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind the scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
That's because we pull away, not before it happens, but pretty quickly after. So I don't remember it having that big of an impact on me. And it could just be that I'm not remembering, since I watched them all in succession a couple of days ago, remembering like a huge amount of blood and guts.
I think the movie's kind of bookended by it. The first scene has a fair amount with Maya Hawke's character getting like stabbed what seems like an inordinate amount of times. And then the killer gets shot through the head, and you see like the bullet hole and everything. Like it's pretty graphic stuff. And then the end of the movie, you have the bread slicer kill, which is just fantastic.
And I don't know, for some reason. So the bread slicer kill, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's kind of a loose homage to Intruder, which is one of those Sam Raimi's buddies movies, late 80s. I don't think it's bordering on 90s, but I believe it's like 88 or 89. And I forget which buddy of his made it, but Sam Raimi's in it, and Ted Raimi's in it, and Bruce Campbell's in it, and a couple of the people from the Evil Dead films are in it.
Scott Spiegel.
Yes. And there is it's not a bread slicer. It's not a meat slicer either. It's more like a bandsaw, but there's a very famous scene where somebody's head gets cut in half. And I have unfortunately only seen the edited version of that. But I have to say that it is far more effective to me than this very well done bread slicer scene in this. And I think that's why it's almost too good. It's almost too realistic, but slick. So it doesn't really impact me that much. It is obviously gory, but for some reason, I think the budget and the slickness of this sort of keeps it at a distance for me. So I didn't even really, I think in my head, consider this overly gory. I mean, there's a lot of blood and her head gets sliced up pretty darn good. But sometimes there's something about seeing a well-made dummy head sliced with, from a 1980s movie that just works on a different level. I don't know why. I can't explain it.
I kind of get it. I mean, it is slick. It's real slick. I mean, it's well made. It's well shot. It's well lit. Maybe a little too well lit. I mean, there is something to be said for giving a horror movie a little layer of grime. I mean, this movie is set in the 90s, so it just feels like grimy less grime than even 78, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I like the kills in this movie. Again, I think that they're pretty gory for what they are. I think that a lot of horror movies recently have kind of strayed away from embracing that, like, slasher mentality of, like, let's give the audience what they want. Like, give them what they want. If they want blood and guts and gore, give it to them. Don't hold back. So it's nice to see that this movie has a pretty gruesome, opening act, a pretty gruesome finale. And it does, I think Fear Street 78, I think, is even more, if you want the kills and the brutality, the second one is probably where you want to go, because it has a lot more brutality to it than the first movie. Because it's more sustained.
Yeah, and it dives into some taboos and a little bit more transgressive kills, which harkens back not so much to Friday the 13th, but more to like Sleepaway Camp and the burning where kids are actually in danger. Not just camp counselors, but actual camp goers, and they don't hold back on killing kids, which always takes some balls and is always appreciated and really bothersome in a way too. So I'm glad that they went that direction. And the one kid in particular that got killed, I was like, where do I know that little guy from? And he's on Pin 15 or Penis. I don't know. Are we supposed to say it Penis since that's what it's supposed to be, or Pin 15? I never can tell how I'm supposed to say the title, but he's on that show and he's great on it. And doesn't do a whole lot in this, but I was happy to see him pop up.
So yeah, let's talk about Part 2, 1978. So this movie, still directed by Leigh Janiak. It is not written by the previous two writers. It is written by Leigh Janiak, but it is also written by Zach Olowitz. It stars Sadie Sink, who plays, I forget what's her character's name in
Ziggy.
No, not in this. In Max. In
Mad Max.
Yeah, Max in Stranger Things. The redheaded girl.
Yeah. So we have another Stranger Things connection.
However, in this movie, not outright murdered, though there is a twist of sorts. I guess the twist is you think she's going to die.
Right. You think that the character of C. Berman, who is played by
Jillian Jacobs.
Yes, who I love.
Of Community
fame. We are introduced to her in 1994, and she is supposed to be how we're going to find out how to stop this from happening, because she actually survived the Camp Nightwing killing. So that means there is a way to beat the minions that are after them and to save Sam. So that's kind of the setup. There's got to be a way. Everybody else gets killed. Oh, well, it turns out she did technically die, but was revived. So you know all this going into 78, but the twist is, which sister is she? And again, they kind of, I don't know if it's not giving people credit or if it's just that we're all so used to twists but it's pretty obvious that it's going to be the Sadie Sink character, not
she looks like old Gillian Jacobs younger. I mean, just
it's
red
not
hair.
It's not going to be the prude older sister who we know's name starts with a C. It's going to be the one with the nickname who we find out later also has a name that starts with C, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, pretty obvious to me that she was going to, it was pretty obvious to me that she was going to be the surviving sister. And this hits that era that I like more, but anybody who has listened to my show knows that slashers are not one of my favorite subgenres of horror. They weren't the ones that I watched back then, even though I was around and watching horror movies when a lot of these were coming out. I missed it by a couple of years. I wasn't old enough to see these things in the theaters, but I was watching movies on VHS and mainly horror movies, but I didn't rent slashers a lot. And so I did a whole series on my show as to why do I hate slashers and talked about a lot of the ones that I actually do like. But as far as eras go, this is more to my liking. These are the movies that I kind of grew up with and had a recognition of, whether I actually actively watched them or not. But so I was thinking this one's going to be more successful for me than the 1994 one. And I don't think I came out at the end feeling that way. I mean, that's just a personal thing. Like, I don't think I liked this more than 1994. Expecting that I would have.
I don't like this as much as 94 either. I think that this does some interesting things with the campground story trope that we've seen a million times in a million other movies, like The Burning, like Friday the 13th. I like parts of it. I like Sadie Sink. I think she's great. I like Gillian Jacobs. I don't like the twist because I don't think that the twist is I think the twist is just kind of lazy and very obvious. Again, you see what her character looks like. It's like, physically they look similar from even just something as minor as their hair. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that this is told entirely in flashback. It feels like, we go from 1994, at the end of 94, they reach out to C. Berman because they know that she's the reason that, or I guess she's the only survivor of Camp Nightwing. And so they go, at the end of the first movie, Sam stabs, Dina. So one of the girlfriends gets stabbed by the other one, and they have to go and figure out why they did not actually save Sam from the witch's curse, what they think. So they go to C. Berman's house, and this entire movie is told in flashback, and we're led to believe that we somehow find out, along with the characters, that the twist is that Sadie Sink's character is Gillian Jacobs.
Right, instead of just saying, well, this is actually how you do it. But, I mean, otherwise you don't have
Also, they could do that lazy scene at the end where they're both getting stabbed and you don't know which one survives.
Right. I mean, I guess then you don't have the second entry in the series if you just have her tell them no, that's not how you're going to figure this out. But
it's not written by the same screenwriter, so I have to say probably that the lack of some of the same polish from the first movie feels like a screenwriter thing.
Could be, yeah. And again, I don't know what this is based on or loosely based on as far as the series of books goes.
Nothing.
But as far as a campground slasher goes, since again, you're dealing with a supernatural element, I did enjoy that. And I would have liked to have been more confused about who was going to end up being the killer. That would have been fun to me. Like, have a couple instances where maybe it's Tommy, maybe it's this other guy, and we don't know for a while who it is. And that kind of tension works for me when that's a mystery, but it's pretty well established with the nurse at the school that it's gonna be Tommy. And so you have no real tension there trying to figure out who it is, which is fine. I guess is not what they were going for. I just would have enjoyed that angle. The rest of it was fine. But again, I just expected to like this one more than the first one and didn't. I kind of liked it when they ended up going back to 1994, which is basically what I'm going to say about the last one too. I'm glad they returned to 1994. So
yeah, I agree 100%. I like parts. I think that this movie feels like the necessary evil of the series to like, this is really the exposition dump of the series because we get a lot of exposition in this movie. And you find out a lot of things that end up being a lot more important than even the movie leads on in this film, like the rock under the tree, the hand, like all that. I mean, the hand, it really comes into play in this movie. And that's kind of where the final jumps off, is from the finding of the seraph hand.
Right.
But man, there's just something about summer camp movies is just not my thing.
Yeah, they're not really. So when I did that series on why I hate slashers, the ones that I ended up talking about were kind of the oddball ones. I mean, a lot of people love Sleepaway Camp, and for good reason. It's just it's so nasty and mean-spirited, and I mean, has the ultimate twist. I mean, I don't know if a movie's ever going to top that, other than The Crying Game, which is basically the same twist, I guess, when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
But stuff like that, and I talked about The Burning because that just has these odd. Maybe it's The Burning is the one where the kids actually get killed. I always forget.
They get killed.
Like little kids. I mean, the kids in Sleepaway Camp get killed too, but they're, teens. But in The Burning, it's like little baby kids. And I talked about Friday the 13th, the final chapter, because that's my favorite Friday the 13th movie, and admittedly one of my favorite horror movies. That is the one slasher that I would put like in a top 10 horror movie list. So it's always the ones that are kind of have a weird thing going on with them. And this one it didn't have that weird angle. Yes, we kill some kids, but it's still, you don't see it. They don't show.
They have their cake and eat it too. It's again, felt like the bait and switch of the gay couple at the beginning of the first movie. It's like, just do it.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. It's a movie.
That would have been the line, like just maybe an axe in the head or something, and you not linger on it or anything.
It's
but
a horror movie. Like
they're not off screen, but it's like POV of the victims, so you don't see axes hitting children's bodies. You see the aftermath. You see, and not even really much of the aftermath. So it's a little bit of a cop out.
You hear the blood,
right? And you hear the watermelon sounds, the squishing of the axe going in a little bit. But I'm not saying go all out and be nasty like Sleepaway Camp is, but maybe have one insert shot of axe to the face or something. I don't know.
I mean, again,
and maybe they have some shots like that.
Maybe. I again, for me, I like the first movie more because the first movie does push the envelope. This one doesn't. This one feels kind of safe in a way.
It didn't have as many surprises for me, like the discovery of, oh, okay, this is not just a serial killer. Oh, it's not just this. Oh, it's not just that. This was more, because we already know all that stuff. So I understand not repeating that. And we do get a couple of surprises, notwithstanding the obvious twist or fake out. So we do uncover some clues. This is the one that I really think should have been shorter, seeing as it's copying on the whole slasher thing. Most of those slashers barely make it to 90 minutes. This could have been like, hey, let's keep this one short and sweet, get in the exposition that we need, and move on to the next one. So they're all, like I said, 1 hour and 50 minutes, 1 hour and 47 minutes. They're right at that 2 hour mark. And this would be the one where I think you could probably cut some fat.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, so these two sisters are at the summer camp. The one sister's boyfriend gets his name on the witches list, and he becomes the killer that you see in the first movie. I guess the very heavy-handed homage to Jason in what, 2?
2, yeah.
Yeah.
The sack head.
Yeah, the burlap sack. In this, though, they kind of give it some texture. They kind of press it onto his face, which is cool. I kind of like that. It's not.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It's not just a burlap bag. It's like a burlap bag, like form fitted to his face.
Right.
Which isn't really explained, but it looks cool.
Yeah, again, I thought I missed something. I'm like, why is it so tight on his face? I know she's pulling it at one point on his face, but I'm like, it looks like something got poured on it,
Right.
you know, like wax or something, so that it adhered.
And so the whole movie is them trying to escape the killer
And find
the body.
Right.
Because at one point, Ziggy bleeds on the hand, which triggers the curse.
Right. And so that was the connection for me with, it's not just touching it, it's bleeding on either the hand in this case or on the grave in the case of Sam, where it's that creates that link.
Yeah.
To Sarah Fear.
Yeah, there's two curses going on in these movies. There's the curse of having to see Sarah Fear's truth, which is technically a curse. And then there's the curse of the actual story's villain wanting to keep Sarah Fear's truth out of reality. So there's two curses going on. It's kind of
the shitty side curse, the shitty siders.
Yeah. So yeah, there's two curses going on in this movie as in the first movie. So
and this is when we right and this is when I started wondering about Nick Good and his relationship with Ziggy, who ends up being C. Berman, and started going, oh, okay, yeah, something's not right with this guy,
Yeah. So before we talk about the third movie, the big twist of this entire first trilogy of movies, because I expect we're going to get a second trilogy at least, is that the sheriff of the town, who you see in the first movie because he kills the skeleton killer, he kills... I guess he doesn't kill anybody else, does he?
That's a good question. I'm trying to remember if he takes out any of the other...
At the end of the first movie, he shows up and he's questioning the main characters about their friends who died, and we're pinning it on them. Was it anybody else? And it's no, it was them. They killed everybody because they were tweaking out on drugs.
Yeah.
And then in the second movie, like you mentioned, he is at the summer camp with our lead in this movie, the young Gillian Jacobs character, and he saves her at the end of the movie. He brings her back to life with CPR.
Right.
Yeah, by the end of the third film, we will find out that he, all along, has been the baddie.
Right.
Because there's been a curse. He was, I guess, his entire family have been witches, and they have been blood-sacrificing townsfolk to the devil. So they put someone's name on a piece of this giant stone, this giant rock, put their name on there, and that person goes crazy and kills some people, which is enough blood to keep the Sunnyvale being prosperous, and Shadyside is kind of the sacrificial lamb in this scenario.
Yeah, and it was that point when he was saving Ziggy, like, I'm not going to let you die, that I started going, oh, okay, something's up with this dude.
Huh.
It wasn't necessarily even the line reading. It was like, too many people have died. I'm not going to let you die. And it was sort of like his confession, like, so many people have died because he is causing this to happen.
It's fair.
And once it was revealed, I was like, okay, yeah. And I think they even re-show, they flash back to that scene, and I was like, yeah, that kind of caught me when he said that, because you could interpret it a number of ways. And he was being sort of selfish himself for even saving her, and that is what eventually undoes him, which is great. I mean, that's a nice little revenge twist. So
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just going to say, this is the one that I really thought I would like, because I knew it would be skirting that folk horror line, but I didn't, because it was so, I don't want to say historically inaccurate, but it was like, again, that's where the CW thing comes in for me. Like, when they have a show that takes place way in the past, I have to realize, okay, their hair is not going to look right. The costumes aren't going to be completely not that I know what everybody dressed like in 1666, but it doesn't have that feel of something like The Witch or even some of the older films, like some of the Hammer films. It doesn't seem period accurate. Plus, the accents were all over the map. It's like, do your best English accent. Okay. And so that bothered me a little bit. And I kept telling myself, don't let that stuff bother you. But if I went back and watched it with your thought about this kind of being a goof on that, I think it would bother me less.
Well, I mean, it feels like a goof because they had all the actors in the movie from the other movies in this movie as those characters. I mean, that for me is the absolute smartest thing that they did in this third movie. Is the way the second movie ends is, I guess, Dina, because she's gay, has the strongest connection to Sarah Fear, who is also gay. And so when she touches she puts the hand back with the body, she has a vision, a prolonged vision of what happened to Sarah Fear, a prolonged vision in the form of a kind of a cutscene almost in video game, of her seeing this flashback to what happened. But all of the characters in this flashback are played by actors from the films already. So there's Sadie Sink is in there for a little while. The actor who plays her brother, the actor who plays the sheriff. I think almost everybody is in there except for Jillian Jacobs. I think she's the only one.
Yeah, all her high school buddies. Yeah, all her high school buddies are there, and I was happy to see that kid again from The Woman in the Window since he had gotten.
The nurse plays the widow, the actual witch in this story, because there is kind of a actual witch. But I think one of the smartest things that they did was
bring them all back.
Yeah, I mean, it was actors. I mean, Sadie Sink never interacted with Kiana Madeira or Ashley Zuckerman, the two actresses who play the lead of the movie and then the villain in the series. They never interacted except for in this movie. A lot of the actors didn't interact except for in this movie because they were set in these separate timelines. So I thought it was pretty interesting. But let this asshole go by. I do feel like it was a little bit of a goof on these kind of elevated horror movies.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that take because, I mean, I like a lot of the elevated horror that's come out in the last decade or so, but they're definitely not above getting poked at, and I can appreciate that. I wish I had thought of it while I was watching it, so I could have enjoyed it a little bit more. It's probably, like I said, my least favorite of the three until it switches back to 1994, till we get that 1994 part 2. And then I was like, oh yeah, good. We're back with these people that I actually like. And that was another thing I want to bring up because I hate unlikable characters in horror movies. And it is the go-to in a lot of horror movies these days. Some of them skirt that line in this, but generally speaking, they're all pretty likable. They're not actively trying to screw each other over, and they're not despicable people in general. The two that sell the drugs, and I forget the characters' names.
Simon and Kate, you mean the ones from the first movie that get murdered?
Right. So they're a little bit like that kind of assholey, smart aleck, smarter than everyone else. But it doesn't go too far to where I'm going, man, I could care less if these kids get killed. And that to me is the biggest mistake in a lot of these. We have to have these modern day kind of cooler than everybody else kids, but it always turns into they're just assholes. And I don't care if assholes get killed. Shouldn't I care when these kids get killed? It's turned into more like the audience has to want these kids to get killed because the kills are the whole point of the movie. I don't feel anything with that, though. I feel something when it's a character that I genuinely like and want to keep seeing on the screen. So directors and writers that are listening, take note. Mark Begley wants to
do such a thing.
Mark Begley wants to see likable characters so that he feels something when they die. Because otherwise I don't really care. And it's not going to make me like the kill more. It's just going to make me happy that kid is gone. And so it's not a complaint that I can hold against these movies because they aren't despicable, but it does happen a lot in new horror, modern horror, whatever you want to call modern horror, contemporary horror.
Yeah, it is a common occurrence in those movies, and it really shows. And it really sucks because I think, are we past now? It feels like we're past the age of horror only being about the kills. I feel like we're kind of past it finally.
Well, I would hope so.
Porn, right? That was like Hostel and stuff like that.
It still seems like a lot of what I see, especially on Twitter, has great kills or those, I still see a lot of that.
That's
I'm like,
the horror community that I don't like any more than you do.
It's great if there's inventive kills or even people don't have to die necessarily.
No.
I always feel kind of icky talking about inventive kills anyway. We know in horror movies, and not all horror movies, some horror movies don't have any killing. They're just terrifying for different reasons. And you can have a horror movie that's scary that doesn't have over-the-top kills, and you don't have to make me just come away with inventive kills. Give me something else. Give me something to care about. I want to care about the people in the movie, even if they do end up getting killed, because that puts more weight on what you're putting on screen. I don't care if an asshole gets killed in a movie, but I don't know if we're over it. As to your question, it still seems like it kind of is a lot of movies only go to.
I think it's lazy movies though that do that. Lazy movies.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good example of a really good kill of someone that you really care about, in a modern horror film where it's like, oh no. And it's not so much that it was gruesome or gory, it's unexpected and you thought this person was going to last longer.
Right.
And that has a heft to it that inventive kills on their own for asshole characters doesn't have, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, again, I found the deaths of those characters at the end of the first movie to be genuinely surprising.
Yeah, and they hold some weight and they hold some heft to them because you don't expect Kate to get her head pushed through a bread slicer. And does Simon get killed too?
He gets an axe to the forehead.
Yes, he does. That's right. So they both go in the grocery store, and you feel it because you've ridden along with them for this whole movie. And it's good that they do that. And not everybody survives in a kind of realistic way, but you feel it a little bit more. So it was nice to see them all come back in the final one, at least in the flashback, as different characters.
And I think the other thing, and you kind of mentioned it already, that's important about this third movie is it gets out of the way of the problem that the second movie has, which is I don't need to see an entire 2-hour flashback. Like, this gave me enough of a flashback. Gave me about an hour's worth of a flashback. That's it. Like, and you know what? It made the most of the time. The story made sense. It filled in the questions that I asked, and it asked some questions that I didn't, and gave me some answers to some stuff I wasn't even thinking about. And it did it in an hour, and then it allowed me to get back to the finale of the series as a whole. The second movie just kind of slows this whole series down.
Yeah, right. And that's why I say it could have been the shortest one easily. And why maybe a limited series format would have worked, where you don't spend that much time in that area.
Or if you do, you can at least break it up a little bit.
Right. And yeah, so this, I think going into it, I suspected that, I'm not going to say that I guessed the twist, but, having that autopsy of Jane Doe in my head, like something's not kosher with her just being a witch. It's kind of obvious she's not a witch. You take that whole angle just of the witch trials in general. And did they have witch trials in Ohio in 16th? Were there people occupying Ohio in 1666?
I have no earthly idea.
I was kind of always curious.
I think they forgot that these movies were set in Ohio.
Yeah. I was like, But you know that there's going to be at least that aspect where obviously she's not really a witch. So what is going on? Why are the people seeing her? Et cetera, et cetera. So I liked the way they answered that. And it does kind of hearken to, the power that she has is because of how she was wronged. And so you take on that whole patriarchy, misogyny, everything that the witch trials represent, and put just enough of a spin on that to have kept my interest. Like, oh, I like that. I like that angle. It's not just she was wrong. She wasn't really a witch, but basically you turned her into one by sacrificing her in this way. And that's the curse. She might not have been a witch, but there was enough voodoo bullshit going on back there that it became this curse, and you're all fucked now because you killed an innocent woman. And it's like, well, that wasn't even really what was going on. It was this dude the whole time. And so I did like that reveal.
Yeah. I mean, I like yourself. I think I realized pretty quickly into 2. Yeah, there's probably more going on here. I mean, there has to be. They're showing a lot of stuff that is not being shown for no reason at all. So when it's revealed that the good family are the bad guys, Sheriff Good is evil. It works. I mean, you know what it feels like a lot? There's a scene in this movie that feels like somehow they were evoking The Conjuring 3 without having seen it. I mean, doesn't that scene in this movie when she's in those tunnels in his house where he's hiding her?
Yeah.
Feel just like that scene in The Conjuring where Vera walks in on the same thing and realizes it's like, it's not shot for shot, but it's like the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, hide, but don't walk around too much. Because if you do, you'll find the secret room where the rituals are being committed.
Yeah.
Literally. She finds like the blood, pattern on the ground where the blood of the people that have died kind of coagulates where he does his blood sacrifices. It's very on the nose for The Conjuring 3. It made me laugh.
Yeah, I did briefly think of that in the tunnels. I'm like, oh, okay, this seems familiar. Oh yeah, we watched a movie like this recently.
Just watched it a month ago. So I think the third movie for me, I think it goes 1, 3, and then 2. Because I think for me, the parts that I like about 3 are the 1994 stuff. Because it's not just like a little bit of time; it's like a whole 40 minutes.
Right.
So,
no, I was definitely happy for the return.
Yeah, I think my ranking goes 1, 3, 2 because I'm not going to put 3 above 1 because 1 is all of the 1994 stuff. 3 just happens to have 1994 stuff.
Right. That would be my ranking 2, and it's based almost solely on the 1994 stuff, which I just keep finding myself being surprised about. But
I think it's clearly for you and I, we're kind of both on the same page that the 1994 stuff was the best stuff in this series.
It was the most interesting to me, and I think it was the most fleshed out as a whole. And it probably has to do with the fact that you kind of keep returning to it throughout. I mean, even in the second one, you return to it, and there's the wraparound, the beginning of finding C. Berman, and then you're going to end with her or with that quote modern timeline, and so you get that familiarity, and you want to find out how this is all going to pan out. So that's where your allegiance lies, because the past has already happened. The 78 stuff has happened. 1666 stuff has happened. It's not going to change anything. It's just our mystery to solve.
Right.
And one of the reviews,
how they find that information.
Yeah. A couple of the reviews I read actually mentioned the Scooby-Doo-esque quality of the shows. And I was like, oh, I wish I had thought about that too. Thinking about Scooby-Doo and solving mysteries and the twist. It's not this person, it's this person. And I
can kind of see that.
Yeah, I like that. I wish I had that in my head as I was watching it. But the return part, going back to 1994, was fun. And I liked that it all went down in the mall, although all I could think about was Stranger Things with their finale in the mall. But if you go further back, you've got Dawn of the Dead, you've got other things like that.
To be fair, I like the thematic tie that the mall was built on top of Camp Nightwing.
Right, and that tree, and I didn't even, duh.
They don't make it very clear until the end of the third movie.
Right, but you see the tree when Maya Hawke is getting killed, and my brain was going to, oh, this is the Scream opening.
Right.
Forgetting that they're inside of a mall. And there are malls that do this, and I have seen trees, not just planted trees, but buildings built around trees. So it's not something that's like out of the norm. But yeah, it didn't register with me like, oh yeah, shit, that's the same tree. Yes, there was a tree in the mall, but yes, this is the same tree where her hand is supposedly buried. Okay, got it. Yeah, I wasn't cluing in on that, from the opening scene of the first film.
I think that adds to the quality of that first movie, that there is some kind of layered stuff going on that you would only see the second time you watch. I haven't rewatched them. I want to rewatch them and see kind of what I pick up on the second time. Because, the first time I was watching it because I wanted to watch it to see the story. The second time, that's not going to be the case. So,
I didn't give myself enough time to do a total rewatch of all of them, but I will rewatch them as well.
Content. That's a ton of content.
And I kind of wanted to watch them I intended to watch them originally with the family, or at least with my daughter. And then I was like, oh no, they leaned hard into the R. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of need to check it out first, because I don't know what kind of R we're talking about here.
Right.
And which brings up a point that I found interesting in the 78 version, seeing as that it's a camp killer movie, and knowing that those movies were full of boobies and was a reason a lot of kids rented them, myself included, back in the day. Well, I didn't rent that many campground slashers, but that's a main draw of them. It was interesting to me in that one sex scene between the other good, his brother that ends up being the mayor of Sunnyvale later on, and that counselor from Shadyside. It was interesting to me that there's really no nudity in the movies. And it was most noticeable with her because she was most likely wearing something that they CGI'd out, but they didn't show her nipples. They didn't show any genitalia or anything like that. So it just made me think that in this day and age, you can do this, give the illusion of nudity without an actress having to expose herself, have to, have this in her writer, won't do nudity, whatever. And it was kind of nice. I'm old and I have a daughter, so I think about these things differently than when I was 13 and watching these movies. Like, it's a nice thing for these actresses to have this option of saying, no, I'm not going to do nudity. Well, how about if we do this? It's a sex scene. You can wear a bikini top and bottom. We digitize it out. We still don't show, fake nipple. Which is kind of creepy anyway. It's sort of what they did in Machete with, what's her name? Yeah. And how they, that's basically what they did is took out her clothes that she was wearing, her bikini or whatever. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I'm sure it bothers some people that they didn't get to see titty, but I looked at it from a totally different angle. And I was like, that's kind of nice that actresses don't have to exploit themselves to be in a slasher film like they did in the 80s, thinking that this was going to launch their career and then have this embarrassing incident to live with the rest of their life. And not that every actress felt that way about nudity back then or even today, but it's a nice option to have. And I don't need to see it, and it doesn't need to be in the movie, and we're, cool. Let's move on. But
it doesn't add anything.
Yeah, it doesn't add anything. It's just a sex scene between camp counselors, which is a thing that's going to happen. Camps are horny playgrounds. And so it's going to happen. It just doesn't have to be necessarily portrayed realistically on a movie that's not the focus of the film. And so I kind of appreciated that. And it could be that it's, because it's a female director and a female writer and all that kind of good stuff. So I appreciated it.
Well, and I'm glad, I think that Leigh Janiak brings something to this by being a female director that a male director clearly would not have. And I think that that's a good thing. I'm glad that there are different voices working in the horror community because, it's never a bad thing. Actually, it's a great thing. It's an awesome thing. It's something that we should strive towards and be happy for and continue to support.
I agree. And if actors or actresses want to do nude scenes in movies, I'm not the person to tell you not to. That's for sure. do what you're comfortable with. And some people are comfortable with it and some people aren't. And it's good to have choices other than just not being in the movie. Oh, you won't do a nude scene? Well, then you got no chance of being in this movie. Oh, you won't do a nude scene? Well, let's work around it. You know, that's great to have that opening. So
and it doesn't
that's my little PC venture for the episode for you.
And it doesn't add anything. So
yeah, if it's not add anything, which we've already said really doesn't, it's not necessary other than it's a campground slasher and it's expected.
Right, exactly. But I like when they when they go back to 1994 at the end of the movie. I like that we get to see that story tied up in 1994 with the characters that we have kind of come to follow, and we get to see the sheriff get an ounce of his own medicine. He gets murdered, killed, I guess, summarily done away with by our lead. And then I guess Sunnyvale goes to hell.
Right, and that'll be the next series if we get to it, if we get one. Well, what happens with the flip side? But I have to say that I liked all the neon going on in that final mall scenario. I liked the Commando-esque setup of traps and everything else. And who is the actor that they got that kind of popped in and out that was always in the police station? And he's been in other stuff that I've seen, and I just love
Gibson.
I love it when he shows up in things. And I kept hoping, I'm like, okay, this guy's got to do something because I know who he is. He's a recognizable face, and I'm glad they roped him in on this ultimate plan at the end. And I think maybe we went a little too much with some of the setup and then not pay off and set up and not set up and not pay off, but set up and get frustrated and do that a couple times. So don't keep doing it. You know, let them be successful at some point.
Yeah.
And
stop subverting the payoff constantly.
Right. But it wasn't terrible like some movies I've seen, but it can get grating after a while. But that whole scene in the mall was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed, for one, being back with them and the tricks and traps and things that they came up with. So
yeah, at the end of the third movie, they have to trap all the killers in the mall while Dina tries to figure out a way to, I guess, stop the sheriff from continuing to do what he's been doing. So they use her as bait, and they trap the monsters in the mall, and then Dina goes from the mall into where the sheriff has his setup, because, again, the mall is right on top of Camp Nightwing, and all that took place under Camp Nightwing. So
right.
The finale of the film takes place in the underground kind of catacomb or crypt where the kind of the creature is. It's like a mound of organs and stuff. It's a living organism that kind of exists because of the blood sacrifices. And then she kills the sheriff, and the curse is broken.
Yes, and I totally forgot about the creature under there. I liked that creature. I liked the design of it, that it was just basically a massive blob that sort of looked like a brain, and then all of the minions would basically emanate from that, come out, and go on their merry way, trying to track down whoever was holding Sarah Fier's truth. And maybe a little too reliant on CGI, but I can kind of understand it for something like that when you're manifesting creatures, and they're not going to do the Rob Bottin, The Thing kind of practical effects for that, but it would have been nice.
Yeah. And so what is Sarah Fier's truth? Sarah Fier's truth is that the good family are the bad guys. She was killed to look like the witch. She lost her hand in the process of trying to expose the good family, and she has been using her curse to try and tell the people of Shadyside that the good family are still sacrificing people, which is causing Sunnyvale to be prosperous and Shadyside to not be. And that's the entire curse and the crux of the movie.
And that brings up another thing I forgot to mention. I liked how they flipped the story of her losing her hand, how that had become misrepresented in the storyline, that she had cut her own evil hand off, and that's not how it goes down. So again, I liked that, how the true story was different than than the legend. And that small part of it, how she loses her hand, which is a big part of the whole story, was a lie perpetrated by the Good family and their lineage.
And like you mentioned about the second movie, you do have a kind of flashback scene that talks about the Good family and shows the son during the second movie going down and putting the name on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So the Good family are real bad guys. And then they die. The curse is broken at the end.
But is it? Or is it?
Or is it?
The end, question mark.
So yeah, in a mid-credit scene, we see the book that the Good family took from the widow, the actual witch. The book that they took to create the curse. You see the book in the underground kind of catacomb, and you see a pair of hands grab it and run off with it.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. I was like, there's got to be a mid-credit scene in one of these. Oh, at first, I wanted to mention at first I was a little bit confused about what are they walking into? They're in the catacombs and they break the curse and then they start going through the catacombs, and I'm expecting them to come out of the mall again. And they start going up these steps, going into this room, and I'm like, oh my God, is this I thought that they were still underground and that there was a whole nother, like that witch was still living there or something in this modern nice house. And we're going to get the actual architect of all this. And then I realized, his house was built on top of it. So he had access to this. He basically built his house to have access to this underground lair. I was like, oh, that's not as interesting an idea as I was formulating in my head.
That is weird that it's like built on top of it.
Yeah. And without knowing, and who cares really, but without knowing the setup of the town. And so his house is really close to the mall, apparently.
I was about to say his house must be like the mall must be in his backyard or something.
Because they don't walk for very long, I don't think, before they discover that. But yeah, at first I was going, oh my God, we're going into a whole nother scenario here with an underground house. Who is living in this? Who are they keeping in this fancy modern house underground? I was like, oh, duh.
But I guess you would agree that there might be a sequel?
Well, they certainly left it open for that, which is, I guess, one of the
just a
curses.
2021 thing?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the, it's not particular to 2021, but it is it's what you do. They could have left
particular in 2021 that we kind of expected from almost everything at this point.
Right. Which almost makes me think just leave that mid-credit sequence out because we don't know what happens to the book, and that's fine. Now we know someone's taken it. That could have been shown at the beginning of a new limited series or a new trilogy and been just fine. It's not like they destroyed the book and now we have to go unring that bell.
Well, and the other issue is now they have a certain direction that they have to go in for the next one. They can't just do whatever they want because they've shown that the book is now an integral part of the story.
Yeah.
To the point of showing it in a mid-credit scene. So
right. And who
if they had left it alone, they could have decided whether or not they wanted to readdress it in the next movie on their own time.
Yeah, exactly. Or it gets unearthed or something when that mall gets bulldozed and leave it a little bit.
Fear Street 2014. The mall is on hard times.
Right, and leave it because there's plenty of years in between when that happens, right?
Right.
I mean, it could be even 10 years later. The Sunnyvale just goes downhill so quickly now that they don't have this blood sacrifice going on, and now these are going to be turned into whatever low income housing or something, and maybe that's where the new Candyman takes off from. I don't know.
I do wish that they had kind of left that credit scene out because for me it's just a little much. Like this was such a well done self-contained story, and I don't need that last little push. I don't need it.
Right, because you don't know what's happened to the book, so leave it as
the rules of the book are,
and leave it as ambiguous as possible. Then, like you said, you're not painting yourself into a corner in one direction or another.
Right.
Don't have to know that somebody took the book. I already know that I don't know what's happened to the book. I know it's still around because they haven't destroyed it or tried to destroy it.
And I know it's important because he
Right.
used the book to do the blood sacrifice.
Right. So, yeah, I agree. Sometimes,
It's just a little much.
yeah, sometimes you don't need to give that promise of something that, for one thing, might not even happen, and also not play your hand too soon, which I guess is the same thing. But
Do you think we'll get another one? I hope so. But
I think they've done pretty well with this. Again, I have no idea how they calculate this stuff since it's on a streaming. Like, how do you, for people that are subscribers already, yes, you can know that they watched it. So they know I've watched it. They know however many hundreds of thousands or millions of people have watched it. How do you calculate that old subscription price versus new subscriptions, which you can maybe guess are based on somebody subscribing to watch this in particular? I don't know how Netflix does their money. I mean, I don't know how they calculate stuff because it is a streaming service and they're not showing ads like some of the other streaming services.
Right.
So how do you calculate the specific revenue that one of the properties on your streaming services generates? And so I'm sure they have it all figured out and have all these algorithms and things to show them that. I don't understand how it works, but I would assume that whatever numbers that they use shows them that this has done particularly well for us. The reviews have all been pretty positive. All the reviews I read were mainly positive with minor quibbles. Most of the stuff that I saw on my Twitter timeline were positive.
Yeah.
I would say a good 7 out of 10 encounters I had with it on there were positive. It was definitely more positive than negative by a good stretch.
Yeah.
And
I know a couple people that didn't like it, but I think everybody I know for the most part who watched it really enjoyed it.
yeah, and they're fine overall. I wasn't really expecting all that much other than thinking I would like one more than the other or maybe two, and it didn't work out that way, but I wasn't expecting to be blown away. I wasn't expecting to be horribly disappointed either. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I liked all three of them. And it could just be that I'm almost every modern horror film that I've watched in the last week or so, I have given 3.5 or higher stars. And I'm surprised by that. My batting average isn't usually that good with modern horror.
Right.
So I'm like, am I just in a good mood? I don't know. I mean, I even liked the Wrong Turn reboot and had heard a lot less positive things about that when it came out. And I sort of liked it. And I don't really remember anything about the original Wrong Turns. So
What to say? I haven't seen those. And I heard something about the new one that it was okay.
yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's not really like the other films. So I don't know why it's a Wrong Turn movie.
Because Wrong Turn is a no.
Right. I ended up sitting there going, I actually think I like this, even though it does suffer from the awful character syndrome and not as egregiously as some movies I've seen, but that was annoying. But I enjoyed it. I watched The Rental with Dan Stevens and Alison Brie, and I had heard some mixed stuff about that. Pretty much enjoyed that one. But yeah, I mean, overall, this last week has been very successful for me in modern horror.
I was going to say, for contemporary horror, it sounds like you've been having a pretty good week.
I've had a good run, and I'm sure it's going to end with the very next one I watch.
I was going to say, what does it end with? You're going to start tempting fate is what it feels like.
Yeah. I'm sure it will.
I'm not even sure what other horror movies are coming out soon, so...
Yeah, and I usually, everybody knows this about me that at least listens to my show, is that I basically catch stuff when it's streaming, so... If it's coming to the theater, I ain't going, so.
No, you can drag me to a theater. I'll watch it from the safety and comfort of my own home, which I was doing pre-pandemic anyway.
Right, and so was I, so it's no big change.
No, so. But yeah, if you're on the fence about Fear Street, I would say this is some of the better contemporary horror that I, too, have seen in quite some time. And yes, is it a little heavy-handed in its homages? It can be, but I think its heart is ultimately in the right place. I think it's coming from a place of love, it's coming from a place of affection for the genre, and it's coming from a place of respect for the genre and the films that it's referencing. So, I think ultimately you could go and spend 6 hours watching something much less entertaining and exciting than these movies, and stuff that is not nearly as well written. Because I also think this is rather well written. Is it pretty complicated? Yeah, but sometimes some of the better stuff is. Because again, they're trying to hook a singular narrative through 3 movies. So, and I think they're pretty successful at it. So, they're not going to be entirely successful, but it's not easy to do that, I would imagine. So,
yeah, across 3 films with 3 separate eras and things like that, it took a pretty daunting task, and I think handled it very well.
Yeah.
And go check out her earlier film, Honeymoon. I didn't care for it the first time I watched it, but I read a review from a writer that I really enjoy, and it gave me some angles to approach it in a different way, and I enjoyed it much more the second time. So that's called Honeymoon. It's like two character story, a couple out on on their honeymoon in an isolated cabin, and it's pretty interesting.
It has the chick from Game of Thrones in it.
If you say so.
Kit Harington's wife. She's redheaded, I believe.
Yeah,
correct?
and I have never watched an episode of Game of Thrones, so you could be lying to me right now.
I don't go and educate yourself, because that show is awful.
I have no interest.
No. Well, good, because you could be served. You would be worse served spending your time watching that than watching most things. So
yeah,
I think that this is definitely something worth checking out. I think that maybe don't sit and binge it.
Like I did.
I don't know. I mean, I would have binged it too. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if my wife and I hadn't waited a week and watched it all on that Friday, I guarantee you we would have sat and watched all 3 movies back to back to back, because we watched the first 2 back to back. So no, this is a lot of fun. I'm glad that you and I were able to sit and talk about these movies, because I think that these are some movies that people are going to be talking about for a while, I think.
Yeah, they're good, solid horror movies, and I think that's the general perception of them. And I would, like I said, I would watch them again, or I might not have mentioned it, but now having seen them and knowing what the R ratings are for, I would probably watch them with my kid. And
it's kind of light R in a way.
It's not too bad. And again, another reason why I appreciate some of the pullback, not just with the sex, going to be one of those people that
you have a daughter, man.
Doesn't mind it's a little uncomfortable for me personally, but I don't want to come off as like, oh, all the gore is fine, but I draw the line at sex. It's not so much that. It's like a mix of the two can do things to people's minds. And so since it's not heavy on the one, and there is some pullback on some of the gore on the others, and she watched The Thing with me, so I think we're okay with gore.
The Thing is a much more intense movie than this one.
Yeah, so I don't have too much of an issue. And it wouldn't be like right now, but if she showed any interest, I would be happy to watch them again.
Yeah,
and I would watch them again on my own as well. So I'm not saying I would just only watch them with her.
Yeah, and if you've never seen horror movies and horror movies aren't your thing, I mean, I think that these, they have some homage-y stuff, but I think at the end of the day, they do have enough to bring, if this is your entry into horror, this is a pretty good spot to enter horror.
At least
it has some stuff. It has a little bit of everything almost.
At least the homages, as far as I could tell, and maybe I missed some of them, at least it's not the every character is named after a horror director homages, and every school and every street and every, Carpenter High School, Romero High School, every person's last name as a director or a horror movie actor. I don't think there's much of that in there. There may be some that I didn't clue in on or have forgotten since I watched them, but it doesn't do that, which gets real old real fast.
I don't think I saw anything like that in the
Yeah, I if it was there, I've completely forgotten it. You should play the clip from Orson Welles about homages at that point, and I'll send it to you if you don't have it.
Yeah. What about homages?
Well, I'll send you that clip.
It's again, I think, the director, she did a great job. Does it suck the way it was released? Like you said, maybe not. Would I have watched these movies in theaters? If I could have watched these in theaters, I would have. I would have gone to the theaters for these. For the first one, at least. Maybe 2 and 3, I don't know. But definitely the first one. But yeah, I'm glad that we got to talk about this, because this is a pretty big release this year that a lot of people are really excited about, myself included. So
yeah, check it out. Check it out, people.
Yeah, it's definitely a watch from me. I would say it's a watch from you too.
Yeah, I would recommend
all
them.
3. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Well, if you're going to do one, you might as well do all 3, or you're not going to have any answers.
That maybe is the biggest issue with these movies, is they don't stand on their own.
Right. You can't really just do one. You cannot. I mean, you could.
You could not watch the third movie and have no idea you could not watch the third movie without having seen the first 2.
Yeah, and there wouldn't be much point in watching the first one unless you just really like 90s slasher.
I think you could watch the first movie in a vacuum, but I could say that of almost any kinds of movies like these. You can watch the first Harry Potter and have zero idea about Harry Potter, but you can't watch the 4th Harry Potter movie. Right?
I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
The first movie might be the only one that stands on its own, which might be why I like it so much.
That's a good point.
Because the second movie is the most exposition heavy of all of them. And then the third movie is the closer, the tie-up movie. But you could not watch the third movie without having seen the first 2. Because, like you said, you would be woefully lost. Just asking questions to whoever put the movie on for you incessantly. Who's this? What are they? I mean, you wouldn't even, let me put it this way. If you watch the third movie, you wouldn't understand why it keeps showing 2 different actors playing the same character.
Right. Unless you watch the intro.
I guess, sure. That's fair. Previously on Fear Street.
Oh, right. Which is basically what
then you're advocating for the miniseries. So yeah. So, Mr. Begley, where can people find you when you're not here joining me talking about horror movies and other things?
You can find me at wakeupheavy.com, which is the main site, which has the shows and has links to everything else. And the show is the heck am I trying to say? Well, the show is on wherever you stream podcasts, you can find it there. And lately, I have an episode up with my daughter where we talk about John Carpenter's The Thing and the reboot or requel, whatever you want to call it. And that's about it for my show. I have an episode.
Not terrible.
Oh, I like. Yeah, we get into all that. I like it just fine.
It's not. I mean, I know some people find that Thing prequel to be an affront to the original.
Right. Yeah, that's whatever.
I wish they had used practical effects more.
Right. Yeah.
But
we get into all that on the episode, so have a listen, people. My daughter has some very interesting ideas about all that. And I'm also on one of the latest episodes of the Projection Booth talking about the Sabata trilogy. And I know that you were also on 1 or 2 of the spaghetti westerns.
Matalo.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be on 2 upcoming episodes of the Projection Booth talking about African cinema.
Ah, yes. It's that time of year.
Yes, that time of year.
Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm thinking of schedule-wise, not like every year Mike talks about. This will be the first year.
But Mike, I think like middle of the year always does like last year he did this year. That may have been this year. He did like a South American films.
Right.
Who the fuck knows? Time doesn't matter anymore. So, as for me, you can follow me on cstachiw.com. That's my link tree. That's where you can go to find all the information about me. Like Mark said, him and I have done a fair amount of episodes together talking about all kinds of stuff. I think last time we talked was Poltergeist. Time before that was Howl's Moving Castle. Or
don't forget about The Conjuring.
Yeah, all the Conjuring movies. When you and I talk, we tend to talk about more than one movie.
Yeah,
actually, that's 3 podcasts in a row now where we've talked about a trilogy or series of films.
Yeah, let's stop doing that.
I think in between the last 3 podcasts, we've talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's just the Conjuring movies. And then 4 more, so that's 13. We talked about 17 different movies. Because we talked about all the Conjuring movies, and there's how many of those? 9. 3 Annabelles, 3 Conjurings, and then 3 Nun, La Llorona, and other thing.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. Yeah, so, holy shit. Yeah, maybe we should just cool our jets a little bit. We're getting through the movies too fast.
I agree.
Well, this is kind of the only one we didn't have a choice on.
Right.
We could have talked about The Conjuring 3 without talking about The Conjuring.
Yes, this is true. And Poltergeist without talking about any of the sequels or the remake.
Yeah, but would we be really doing our due diligence if we didn't do those movies?
Yeah, it probably would have been okay.
Well, if you want to listen to those episodes, you know where to find them now that we told you. Make sure to check out the next episode of the Kulturecast and Wake Up Heavy.